If there's one thing that autistic people struggle with a lot, I see, besides, being misunderstood, the other one is making friends. And if you're watching this video and that's you, where you struggle to make friends, yeah, it's definitely hard. I was definitely in a situation at one point where I felt like I had no friends. I've always felt like alone, never knew exactly how to make friends. And look, man, human beings are social creatures, and autistic people, we are humans as well. One misconception that I hear all the time is that autistic people don't like to socialize. They don't like to speak. They don't want to make friends. Simply because we appear, a lot of us, that we don't want to socialize, that we don't want to talk. But what if I told you the reason simply is because we just don't know how to do it? We don't know how to socialize in the way that majority of people do, the way that neurotypicals know how to do it. I want you to understand that. Let me make a comparison. Let's just say when you were growing up, a normal kid, a neurotypical kid was growing up, and he or she was handed a instruction manual on how to live life, and every other kids got that same instruction manual. Now there's two kids that never received that instruction manual until much later on in life. These same kids that I'm talking about earlier, they got it during the time when they're about, let's just say 3-4 years old. But these two kids that I'm talking about, they received that same instruction manual when they were like 10 years old. That's autistic people. So what happened to those two kids is that during the times when they didn't get the instruction manual, they were just kind of figuring it out. They kind of developed their own sense of understanding because we didn't really understand how it worked. But the rest of the kids had a clear idea of how to do it in a particular way. And they knew how to adapt. They knew how to do all these other things. But autistic people, we didn't get that instruction manual. But we still want to socialize. So because of that, here's the thing. A lot of kids, a lot of children, a lot of even adults who are autistic don't know how to make friends, and a lot of them don't have any friends. If you're watching this video, you clearly are one of those people. But I want to let you know that even if you may feel alone right now, you might feel extremely lonely. You feel like no one gets you. And not even when you do try to, communicate and interact with people, you don't get that same kind of feedback. You don't get that, interaction or connection that you're looking for. I hear you. That was me once upon a time. And because that was me once upon a time, I remember just when I was in primary school, secondary school, the majority of it, when I used to see all the other kids in groups, laughing, joking, talking about stuff, talking about whatever they were talking about, whether it was their favorite music, their favorite video games, their favorite TV shows, cartoons, anime, whatever it was. I used to observe these friend groups and think to myself, man, what would it be like to be in a situation like that, in a group dynamic like that? And for such a long time, I never got that. It was only until year 11, when I was 15 years old, that's when I finally got that. I finally got what I was thinking about all along. Well, I finally got that experience that I was looking for. I met my friend group, and to this day, I'm in my early 30s now. I'm still friends with these same people. However, there was a time before I met these guys, and even if I'm honest with you, there was even after I met these guys, where I wanted to have friends, other friends, and I would put myself in situations, or try and put myself in situations where I would see a particular friend group that appeared cool, and thinking, I could be a part of that, and think that I wanted to be a part of that friend group. And then I would try and kind of shimmy my way into that friend group. But the problem is that I didn't realize, because most autistic people aren't self-aware, a lot of us. Let's be real here. Look, we gotta be honest here. That's the whole point of this channel, is being honest. The majority of autistic people don't know how to be self-aware. A lot of the time, we're so wrapped up in our own minds that we don't know what's going on. Not a judgment, because look, I still do it. I do it. I'm a lot better at doing it, but I'll be lying if I said I have completely understood what it feels like to be self-aware. But in certain circumstances like that, where you're not aware of what's happening, you're not aware of what's going on, if you're so wrapped up in the fact that you want friends so badly, and it becomes desperation, that you're just doing it out of desperation, you can find yourself in a situation where you either just remain friendless because you come across desperate to people and no one wants to be your friend, or you can put yourself in a situation where you get friends. However, they're the wrong type of friends. They're the type of friends who don't understand your spirit. They're the type of friends that will use you, take advantage of your gentle nature, of your innocent intentions, for their own personal gain. You can be part of the friend group where you can help them out in a tough situation. Anytime that they need something, you're there for them. But when the second it comes to you, you're the person who's in trouble. You're the person who needs help. You're the person who needs someone to talk to whenever you're feeling down, whatever it is. And they're nowhere to be found. They become Sonic the Hedgehog. They just gone. You don't want to be in a situation like that. And that's exactly the reason why finding the right friends is so important. Because guess what, man? I understand that you might feel alone. You might feel like no one gets you, and you just want that interaction. You really just want to interact with people. And that's fine. That is a human emotion. There is nothing wrong with that. But what is wrong is going to the wrong people. That is the issue. Because look, man, if it's one thing about us autistic people, we all know this. We experience things on a much deeper scale than neurotypicals. So we love deep, we get hurt deep. And trust me, man, when you do not want to be put in, you do not, I repeat, you do not want to be in a situation where you're putting all of this emotional investment into people that don't give a shit about you. You don't want that. I'm telling you that right now. I'll say this right now, and I understand you might not believe this, but it is better to be by yourself and have no friends rather than being in a friend group when everyone takes advantage of you. Everyone manipulates you. Doesn't understand you. You want to go where you're appreciated, not where you're tolerated. I've been in that situation too many times to count. So understand that, yes, you want to make friends, and go ahead and make friends, but make sure you pick the right ones. And I'll say this to anybody who's watching this. If you're this person that just expects friends to fall onto your lap just because that's what you want, please get that out of your head right now. Get that out of your head. That's not going to happen. This is not fairy tale Disneyland. Okay? This isn't the Chronicles of Narnia. If you want friends, you need to go out and get those friends. You need to go to places where you can meet people. Because I know there's a lot of autistic people out there that just sit in their house all day. Don't want to leave their comfort zone. And this goes back to my last video about why it's so important to understand yourself. Get out of your comfort zone. Because again, that is how you are going to make friends. I understand that it's difficult. I understand that autistic people, because look, I'm autistic. I understand that change is something that none of us like. But once again, like I said in my last video, if you want friends, if you want to be in a friend group, right, and you don't have those friends at the moment, that's a change. So please don't expect friends to just appear like it's a genie granting you a wish. That doesn't exist. So please go out there and meet those friends. And look, I'll give you some tips on how to do it. The best one, and this is definitely something that works for autistic people, and I've tried it myself, is interest-based places. If you have an interest in something, go to places based on that interest. If you're into tabletop gaming, like Dungeons and Dragons and all that kind of stuff, there's plenty of cafes that host tabletop events where you can meet people there. And a lot of them are neurodivergent as well. So if that's what you're looking for, if you want specifically neurodivergent friends, great example right there. I personally don't think that you need to have just neurodivergent or autistic friends for them to understand you, because I've experienced it in my own personal life that neurotypicals are capable of understanding autistic people and appreciating the person that you are. It's not just neurodivergent people. It can be neurotypicals as well. But yeah, that is just simply the best example. I remember I did this just before the pandemic. I'm a big fan of music. Big fan of video games. When I wanted to, expose myself to more people, because I used to be the same as well. I used to just be in my house. I would go to work, come home, stay home during the weekends, not do much else. But I wanted to meet other people. And I'm not saying that my friends aren't good enough. Trust me, they are. They're the dons. They're the G's, mate. But there was a point where I kind of wanted, to just hang out with other people as well. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Obviously, look, those guys are my boys. And they will always be my boys. But there was a point in time where I wanted to just interact with others, because obviously there's other interests that I have that my boys don't have that interest. Badminton is one of them. There's one person in my life that likes badminton as much as I do. The rest of them, they don't care. So that's kind of what I want to do. But like I said, going back to my music story, I'm a big vinyl collector as well. I did a vinyl collection meetup where you could just go there and talk about the different records that you have. You bring some records, you'll play them, you'll discuss them. It was great. The reason why I'm telling this story is because I was nervous during that time. You gotta remember, like I said, we don't like change, and it's outside of my comfort zone. I've never been to something like this before. And I'll tell you this as well. When I arrived at the place where the meetup was happening, I looked inside the window And I saw people there that I didn't know. And all I wanted to do was turn back. I just wanted to turn back. But guess what? I found it within me. To go inside. But what happened? When I got inside, I saw everyone interacting, and I still had that anxiety. So I just sat in a corner and just kind of was just taking everything in. And then the host of the event came to me and welcomed me, and slowly but surely I started opening up more. She started asking me, oh, what records did you bring? I showed her the records. I discussed them, why I liked them so much and why they should listen to it. And then lo and behold, I became a lot more comfortable, because here's the kicker. I'm pretty sure everyone knows this. Info dumping happened. I started to info dump, because us autistic people, we love to do that because it's a special interest of mine. And guess what? I was around others who had the same interest. So guess what happened? When I started talking about my records, my albums that I really like, they started talking about theirs. And it became a conversation. And I no longer had that anxiety. Do you see why getting out of your comfort zone can get you somewhere? Like I said, if you want friends, go to the places that you're interested in. That is a perfect way to make friends. It's not guaranteed. So let's get that clear. It's not guaranteed. Because I will say this right now, going back to that story, I didn't make any friends from that event. I didn't. The reason being because I was the youngest person there, So it wasn't my demographic. Everyone there was like in their 40s to their 60s. Right? And I was in my mid-20s at that point. So yeah, I was definitely on the younger side. I mean, I still am on the younger side, but they were a lot older, and a lot of the music that they listened to was from like the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, and the 80s and stuff. Where I'm more of like the current music, to like the oldest I go is at the 90s and some 80s stuff and some 70s stuff. But yeah, I didn't make any friends there, but it was a great experience. I learned stuff, which goes back to what I was saying earlier about understanding more of yourself. I would not have got that information about myself if I didn't put myself in that situation. And I wouldn't be talking to you guys today about this topic. I wouldn't also be talking to you about the topic of, making sure that you put yourself in the right situation where you're around the right people that appreciate you. Because I did that as well. I put myself in a friend group where they didn't have my best interests at heart, And plus, I think what caused it as well was I was heavily masking. I was not putting my original authentic self out there. I was heavily masking, and then I started basically cracks of my real self started coming out. But because those cracks were not what they were used to, they didn't react the right way. But yeah, it's definitely possible to make friends, man. But please, 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 don't have this entitled mindset thinking that you deserve to get friends just because you want it. If you want friends, you need to go outside and get it. So get out of your house, get out of your comfort zone, and go meet those friends. You definitely have the potential to do it. But you need to make that decision yourself. You need to put yourself in that position where you say something, I want to go and make friends, and I'm going to go out there and get that. And I can hear people talking now, oh yeah, I've tried talking to people and I didn't get anywhere with that, and that's it. Because of course, us autistic people, we see things in black and white. So if sometimes we see something doesn't work, we just think, oh, well, let's just go back to normal then. No, you got to keep going. You got to keep going until you get it right. Because if I did that, I wouldn't have my boys that I have now. And, you know, their partners also are close friends of mine. That wouldn't happen. Bear in mind, these same friends that I've had, I've known them for like 15 to 20 years now. This is what happens when you try, man. I'm not saying that the exact same situation that happened to you, because look, everyone is different. Everyone's going to have a different experience, but you will never know anything unless you go out there and get it. So the person listening to this right now, please take the time and the effort to reframe your mindset and go after that. So if you want friends, you need to go out and get those friends, but make sure and analyze the people that you get into contacts with, because you don't want to be in the wrong situations. You have got this. If you are alone, if you feel lonely and you wanted friends for such a long time, you did exactly what I was doing, which is you observe other friend groups and wonder to yourself, I wonder what that could be for me. You might want to also take a look at yourself and think, maybe, are you capable of being a friend to somebody? Does anyone actually want to be friends with you? Maybe ask yourself that question as well. Because you might actually realize that the way that you are is part of the problem. Because I'll say this right now, I've met a couple people at the community cafes for the London Autism Group charity, where they said the same thing. They had this entitled mindset, thinking, oh, I deserve friends because I want it. But this guy is very pessimistic. He's very negative. And I'm thinking to myself, why would anyone be friends with you? And again, I'm not trying to dog on this guy, because I understand he's got his own problems, but exactly what I just said, he has his own problems that he needs to deal with. And that's what I recommend to anybody here listening today. If you are struggling to make friends, sometimes maybe you're the problem. And you need to look within yourself and try and find out and work on those situations, work on those traumas and those insecurities to make yourself someone that would be proud to be called their friend. The choice is yours. You could do that, or you can just do what you're doing. Remain in comfortability, familiarity. You have that potential. Remember that. If you've enjoyed this video, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Let's get some conversations going, man. If you're feeling alone, if you're feeling like you want friends, type it down in the comments. You know, there's no shame here. There's no judgments here. You know, let everybody know your story. And look, you who knows, you might actually even find friends in the comments. Thank you guys for watching today. This has been Simeon of Guided Neurons. And remember, stay blessed and keep expanding.